Another quick segment of some things that have been on my mind lately. I'm starting to get the idea that perhaps what has led to a lot of this weird, woke, effeminate, we don't know what sex we are culture has been, well, we know there's been a lack of father figures, a lack of male guidance, but I'm really starting to look back on life the last few years and thinking the anti-bullying movement, the whole anti-bullying movement, which came after my time in public schools. In my time in public schools, I was frequently bullied. I was the guy that got, wasn't cool enough and got cut out of, sort of pushed out of Boy Scouts, out of Little League. I was the guy that picked up his food tray and went and sat in the back corner of the cafeteria somewhere around 6th grade, 7th grade, and did that for the rest of my school career. I was the guy that got picked on for being a quarter Chinese in an almost all-white town, and took that very personally when I was young and stupid and a crybaby. And I say all that and bring it out because what I've been realizing the last few years that I didn't have enough proper understanding of when I was young was how good all that bullying was for me, and how I would have probably, I like my life now. I don't want to say it would have been better, but my life would have been different had I understood that bullying differently and taken it differently. By taking it personally, by being the crybaby that was put off by it, without getting into that whole sort of traditional male bonding thing where we put each other down and think it's funny, by not being part of that culture, I was sort of outside normalcy. The things that me and all the people that sat alone in the corner, we finally shared a table, the outcasts socially, what we had in common was the things we didn't have in common with everybody else. You see this in all sorts of natural behavior of different species, but you see this historically among human beings, that learning to operate within the group, within the pack, learning where you are in this pecking order social-wise of wanting to be part of it and part of the fellowship and part of the brotherhood and part of the manly bonding things and part of the wanting that is normal and it's healthy and it's actually encouraged by these sort of miniature hazings, this little bit of bullying that you go through. In fact, it really emerged in my school around the time you're beginning to come of age. You're starting to approach puberty. Some kids are hitting it. It was there much more so than elementary school, this middle part of middle school, as we call it. It was really there where we started to break off into these disparate cliques. As you're growing up and you're moving more towards your own interests, more of you will be only sports, and more of you will be only cheerleading, and more of you will be only academic. But somewhere in there, emerging as self, was the need for a corporate collective. I hate to say that because it sounds communist. There's a need for a common fellowship of the shared space of society where all these individuals interact. Bullying has always been part of the human experience. Bullying is a natural part of grafting people into this large organism that we call humanity or culture or society. It's the thing that links you to your school and your school mascot and all those things that may seem trivial as you get older, but they give you that first sense of identity, of belonging. It translates into those that go to college, go to the military, that it translates into Americanism, it translates into the identity that you grow into. But you're molded into this just like a sorority or a fraternity or the military, with hazing, with drills, with practice, with a pecking order and a hierarchy that develops based on abilities and skills and personality. And all of this is perfectly natural. I didn't know it back then that it was good for me. And I look back on it now and I'm like, the things that were done to me that really bothered me because I was young and sensitive, like none of that stuff should ever bother me. And I wish I'd had more guidance at the time to understand how those things shouldn't have bothered me. But now, as a result of the whole anti-bullying thing and include everybody and don't leave anybody out, and everybody's got their own perspective, and instead of society forging young Americans into adult Americans, or the culture forging other members of the common community from within its community into this fellowship, we're instead being forced to squeeze into every hole, the wrong peg, no matter what. And what do you produce? You will only produce a fellowship that's not a fellowship, a community that is not shared, where there is no identity, there is no belief system, there are no rules, there are no moral scruples, ideas, things to strive for, there's no pecking order. That's the utter chaos that we have now of people that don't even know how to identify their own genitals. And it comes from going over the top. Yeah, the anti-bullying thing. There are people that were beat down bloody and lost their lunch money. That never happened to me, thank God. Clearly, we don't want that. But the opposite extreme of forcing everything to be normalized, everything to be accepted, everything to be affirmed without condemnation, it's created a whole society of people that are just wusses and wimps, where nerds and dorkwads are essentially determining what is normal, which is nothing and everything. And now we have this completely rootless and ridiculous, stupid cult culture that has emerged. We really need a lot more. Literally, grumpy old man here. People didn't get their butts kicked enough. Clearly, we need a whole lot more butt kicking. And the failure to kick enough butts is how we ended up with all these wimps.